Hello guys, this is your Uncle Big Fish, and on this video I'm going to be talking about this new game that's going to be released very soon on the 12th of March. So, before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about myself. I'm not the kind of player or the kind of person that sees a game and immediately decides to play it. It's just not me. I'm a Souls player after all. I kinda like the suffering. So, I have an extremely different way of seeing what a game is or is not for me. And I am sure, you guys at home, most of you are probably the same way. So, here's just some reasons that I recently found out about Night CROWS that might help you decide whether or not you should play the game as well, or you should just leave the game altogether. And I'll be a bit bold about this, because I do believe that transparency is often the best way of looking at things. Let's get started. The game design is relatively simple. It's a typical MMO, or an MMORPG game. You make a character, then you choose a class, and the classes that you chose will determine what role you play, or what role you plan on taking in the game. You can be a damage dealer or DPS. There's a support class as well that heals your team or buffs your teammates. Or there's a tank, a class that soaks damage and takes aggro from most of your enemies. And once that's all done, use that character to kill monsters or defeat players in the game. Maybe you could join with your friends that you have in real life, or friends that you meet in the game, by joining a guild. Then from all this, you can achieve more things in the game, like beat other guilds and gain yourself some limited rewards at the expense of another guild not getting it in the process. So this much is pretty much simple. We all know about this. This is in a lot of MMORPG games are the same way. However, this is pretty much just the surface area of Night CROWS, and we haven't really talked about what's in the game and what makes the game different. You see, in retrospect, an MMORPG game is a lot like life, with additional fantasy elements on it. But here's the big problem. Most MMORPG games are trash. I'm pretty sure none of you can debate with me on this. Most MMO games are fucking trash. They're not made complex enough, like say, Dragon Nest. That game, at least the Evolution version, or Dragon Nest 2, was absolutely terrible. There is nearly no mechanics in the game that kinda talks about skill, and most of the skill issue in the game is simply just being able to mash your buttons fast enough, or remember which of the skills have some cooldowns. The skills themselves don't really have a lot of mechanics behind it, like its ability to, say, synergize with something else. And that's pretty much the extent of one person's skill to another person's skill in the game. This is not fun. You could even say that 99% of MMORPG games, people use the exact same build due to them being meta. Everyone has the same exact skills, they equip the same exact skills, and they play the exact same way. However, from just seeing some footage from Night CROWS' pre-released Korean version, I am very sure that this game has some extremely good qualities. Here are some that I found. Firstly, there are tons of skills for every class. We are not talking 7 skills or 12 skills, we're talking 15 up to 30 skills. Even more if you combine all the passives. This allows for an extremely varied amount of builds. And how do I put this in an easy way? Think of it like this. There are 5 players who use a swordsman class. One could focus their build surrounding just the ability to stagger or to stun the opponent. So the whole build revolves around this stun factor of, well, the class. Or one could focus on building a support type swordsman by focusing more on the multitude of buffs that this particular class can cast, as it could provide for the team. Or say you want to play as a DPS, raw damage kind of player, you just want to deal damage. You can do that as well. by focusing on just its raw damage, or just increasing its damage output. Or you could even focus on elemental aspects of the skill tree, for example fire. If this isn't easy enough for you to understand, then I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to you. In short, you can build a very unique set that makes you very different from pretty much everyone else. Secondly, playing a game that also earn you money. Now, this is one of the things that I absolutely despise in pretty much every single game that I've seen done this before, like say Mir 4 or some Axie Infinity. You see, Mir 4, the game at its core was bad. I genuinely believe Mir 4 is absolutely trash. I think the game design is absolutely garbage, and I think there's nothing to like about the game. The graphic was trash, the mechanics in the game was fucking trash, there's nothing good to even say about the game. And just the fact that it can make you money. Now, the game was bad, the system was bad, and that was just the early part of the problem. The biggest problem with NFT games, or games that can help you earn money, is bots. Bots were the ones playing it, and the overall mechanic of the game had nothing worth talking. However, what's different this time is that Nightcrow seemed to have arguably top-of-the-line crypto economic system. Now, this is something that's not really new, it has been done before. However, at some point, the older versions of this subsystem is ruined by bots. This is, however, something that Nightcrow seemed to handle differently. To my knowledge, Nightcrow had the single best anti-bot mechanic in the game. Now, this is good, because without it, this play-to-earn tagline wouldn't work. I want to play games with my friends. I want to play game with people that I might met online. I do not want to play with bots. I want to see the world littered with people, not with bots. I want to talk to people, I want to play with people, and I want to trade or maybe even play a different game with the people I met online. And I'm pretty sure most of you here are not playing this game alone, because that would be fucking sad. Thirdly, the game's graphics aren't amazing. This much I can say. Given the amount of other games that I've played before, this game isn't exactly impressive, graphics-wise. However, for an MMORPG genre, this is as good as it gets. Now, for you to understand this, in an MMORPG, especially an open world one, it's very draining for your PC to render all of the characters of every single player in one map. That will cause a lot of problems with the graphics. That is why most MMORPG games tend to have very, how to put this nicely, very subpar graphics to compensate for that mechanic. However, Nightcrows seem to have handled it well. They managed to somewhat balance between the graphics quality and also that aspect of an MMO that everyone seems to like. Finally, to summarize, I think that we have a lot to discuss about the game later on once it's released. I am pretty sure there's a lot of other things that we have not known about the game yet, that we have yet to see once the game has been released for us to play together. I am 100% gonna try out this game, I am excited to see what this game has in store, and I am going to be making a lot more Nightcrows content in the future, given that the game felt like it has potential to grow into a much more compact community. I do believe that this game has a lot of potential, just from the get-go, however, we need to really play the game to find out. Now, whether or not you guys are going to be trying the game or not, this is it from me, and I do hope that you guys learned something from this video. And perhaps if there are some of you that are missing the community aspect of the Big Fish channel, please do give the game a try. I'm not sponsored or anything. And I'll see you boys again next time. Thank you. Bye.